If he comes back and he's like, I'm scared of him because he yells all the time. Well, as a parent, you could say, well, I'm going to go talk to him and tell him not to yell. But what if he can't help himself? That's how he speaks. You meet people like that. They're energetic, bouncing off the walls. So, hey, coach, I would like to change you. Right? You can't be you anymore because my son feels, right? So it's a great opportunity for a parent to say, okay, what is the message?
Hello. We lost our playing game. The U16s lost their playing game.
Yeah.
Like, the thing for me is it's nice for them to win that and be in the OHL Cup, whatever. But what they accomplished as a group this year was just beyond what anyone thought they could have. So just getting there and getting the opportunity to go to be at OHL Cup is crazy. We were at the game watching. It's such a good game, like such a back and forth game with Hill. I think that was like a good, tough matchup for him, but like definitely a game we could have won. We missed a penalty shot, a couple bounces here and there. Like Suts got tossed like early in the game, which sucks and all that. But they did an awesome job, and it's kind of a cherry on top of a good year for them, being able to get to the dance, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so this do you have any opening things? Because I'm going to lead right into kind of the episode.
I don't need to.
Do you have anything you want to just talk about, just to warm it up a little, or no?
Well, I've always got something to talk about, but I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So what I was gonna say. So I wrote just like a congrats on the season thing to send to the parents, like for the U16s, for all our teams, but for the purposes of this U16s. And I was thinking about just like what to say, and I started reflecting on like what are the critical elements that made it's successful this year for them. Successful in terms of the results. Every year you're going to have ups and downs, and every individual is going to have positives and negatives and all that stuff. But as a group, just overwhelmingly positive. They've overachieved for sure. And I know the parents that were all like real antsy about it. It's nice to see them get the result and win a couple tournaments and all that stuff. So I'm thinking of a couple of the critical elements, and one of them obviously is the coaching, right? And so whether it's at the academy with you or with us, or to Rich coaching that team, I'm kind of just thinking about like, man, it's pretty impressive. This is, I think, speaking to Rich a little bit of like, here's a guy that, having Mac last year that was supposed to coach, and then he got hired in the OHL. Rich steps in with a group he has no context, coming out of junior, trying to do the best he can to, adapt to that minor hockey type of level again. And then to see how they built throughout the year, to see how Rich evolved throughout the year, to get them to perform the way that they ended up performing down the stretch was just so impressive to see. And it's just like kind of a good kind of kudos to him from that perspective on the coaching side. And that's kind of what this episode is going to be about, all of the coaching elements that parents have to deal with. So we're going to talk about coaching with respect to the parents and how they're seeing their coach, how they're judging what their coach is doing, how they're deciding to deal with conflict with the coach. We're going to go through all of that kind of stuff. But I think that's kind of a good table set for us and what's happening with us on the daily, and that'll kind of lead into the general conversation. So kind of anything to say about just that with the U16s or with Rich or any just comments, and then we'll kind of get into this.
Well,
stuff.
I could talk all day because we had our team more or less picked and excited, and with these parents and players had the expectations that Mac was going to, he was our coach from the previous year, and he's a very good coach. And near the end of the summer, he took a job offer with Saginaw. And of course he's going to take it because this is something that he really wanted to do. So on one hand, you look at it from our academy, how it was a big loss, but it was also something that we do. Like, we're trying to develop people. I have no desire to go to another level anymore, but our coaches, that's one of the things that we do. And that's actually one of the jobs that I'm in what's the word I'm looking for? Responsible for, more or less, is to help the coaches, like, see things where the coaches could be better, or whether it's communication systems, overcoaching, undercoaching, dealing with parents and all that stuff, because there's always issues, right? So, especially in youth hockey. So that, I took a little bit of pride in seeing Mac moving up, because I had a little bit of a hand in that. But that's what we want to do. We want to get as many people as we can to move on. So that was good. So then when Rich came in, we're sitting there going, okay, who's going to take this? And there was a few applicants that were pretty decent, but it wasn't what we're looking for. So like as our organization, there's a certain thing, like even with the players, like you can be a good player, but if you don't have a good character, we really don't want you here, because it's more than just being a hockey player. And until you're in that room and building a program, you really don't understand what that means. Like a bad, even parents, parents that are over the top, that could really put um, a bad taste in the mouth with a lot of people, and that has nothing to do with the players, right? So we're like, when we're trying to build a program, it's very, very important to build players that have character, like whatever that means to you as a coach, like your identity and what you want to look like and act like. I think that's very important, and a lot of the times it's, we will make, and I've said that we've made decisions on some players this year, no, because I know what problems we're going to have with the parents. We don't want that. We want to have people that want to work. Anyways, so when Rich came in, we said, yeah, this will be a good coach, because he won at the junior level in junior B a couple times, and he's a very good coach. So his biggest thing was like, so immediately he starts off on the wrong foot. Not him particularly, but he starts off on the wrong foot because comes into this organization where people expected Mac, who had a pretty good standard as coaching. We have a different person coming in, and they're like, okay, this thing's falling apart.
Yeah, not what we
right?
expected.
So like,
yeah.
and that was a challenge for us, right? That was a challenge for us at the beginning, is to get people to understand that it's going to be good. It's going to be good. We did our due diligence. It's going to be good. And I think there was a little bit of uncertainty with a lot of parents and even kids, and maybe even disappointment. Happy for Mac, but disappointed that he wasn't back. And Rich came in from from coaching juniors with the mentality that winning, right? Like winning, winning, winning. And him and I had to sit down and say, the kind of just say, hey, well, okay, we got to look at where we're at here. We're looking at kids, it's development. It's not necessarily always about the win, and the tone and the hard ass approach. Not that he was a hard ass, but it was like, anyways, he accepted it. That was, so a coach accepting coaching is good. It's like a counselor accepting counseling, right? I always ask that question. If a psychologist needs counseling, who does he go see? Right? If a dentist needs his tooth pulled, who do you go see? If you're a hairdresser, who cuts your hair? Right? But a coach is taking a responsibility and saying, okay, yeah, maybe I could do a better job of that. And oh, I didn't really understand the dynamics of that. Anyways, it probably took a couple months of, you know, um, doubt and proving himself to the parents, even though he really didn't have to, and reassurance and stuff. And then it was like Christmas time, the practices, the habits, and which it just takes some time sometimes. So, and then I'm telling you, after Christmas, we were watching these guys, and they were playing good before, but it was the consistency and getting them to where we need to be. And it just took off after Christmas. I'm sitting there. This is a really good team. Proud of these kids, because and the other side of it is, because this is a newer program, meaning not just the BioSteel model, but the academy model is starting to build in the Ontario regions and all over the place. The traditional hockey markets and the bigger traditional hockey markets do not want to see success. They want that to fail. And we said this before on programs that, my initial thoughts on academies were like, yeah, for rich kids that didn't make teams, or rich kids that are looking at buying themselves into hockey. And then, which is in some cases maybe true. In this case, it's not true, because Dan does such a great job. The owner, our owner at BioSteel, does a great job of ensuring that people aren't
That's
paying
accessible.
normal hockey fees. So then you add the program together. Anyways, I could go on and on about that. I'm very proud of our boys. I'm very proud of our coaches. I'm very proud of what we've done here, the standards we set this year, the belief that they built in themselves, and that takes it takes a village to raise an idiot, right? And we're idiots.
Yeah.
No, it takes a village to raise to support and have something good, and that's what it was. It was like a true team effort, and it always will be. And I'm very proud of the kids because they bought in and they were engaged, and getting to the OHL Cup again, that was a lot of adversity. Like we weren't in a particular league, and it's like we proved to everybody that we belong, and we had to earn our way in the back door by winning, by like legit winning, and showing them like if we play with anybody, it'll be a great game. Whereas a lot of teams in that OHL Cup get in because they live in an area that you get a free, like you get so many entries that are allowed in, and you get in even though you might not be good. So we did it the hard way, and that's okay. Adversity is good, right? So very proud of everything about it, and really, I particularly am really looking forward to what we're going to do next year and upcoming years for sure.
Yeah. The buzz about it is great for like the incoming U16s because there's a lot of there's just a lot of buzz now because of what those guys have done, and like we're getting people reaching out because we made it to the OHL Cup. They, maybe it's like we had a guy from another province reach out that's like, hey, we saw you guys made it to the OHL Cup and want to talk to you about some players and all this stuff. And it's like, it's interesting to see, their success is now going to lead into the next year and the next year and the next year. And like, they really did a good job setting the frame. And I do give a lot of credit to Rich for that because he came into a situation, like you said, that's not optimal for him. Right? It's not optimal for him. Like when you're not supposed to be the person that's there and then you're the new guy, it's like that's a hard thing to have to adjust. And he did a great job. I think that kind of sets the stage kind of to lead into like my first piece on the coaching side. And for parents, I think it's a question of like what you should expect or have as an ideal for the person that you want to be your coach when you're in, youth hockey from whatever, U10 up to U16. Now, something that I struggle with, just to give you some time to think about that, is I'm watching this game. Some of the kids are just not playing. And so when I go to some of these games and I watch some of the kids just don't play, I have a hard time with that because that's just not my mindset, right? It just isn't my mindset. But not everybody's like that. And not only is not everybody like that, some people just think that that's the right thing. Also, you get into certain games and certain situations, it's like, yeah, those kids aren't as good and we want to win. And so they're not going to play. And there's a whole spectrum of thought around that type of situation on what to expect and what's ideal. So maybe just give like maybe from like starting at, let's say U10, like when AAA starts as an example, and it would still apply the same to AA or whatever, all the way up until your U16, U18, and then how it changes going into junior.
Yeah. So basically the expectations.
Yeah,
so for me, and it's going to sound kind of funny, but for me, the expectations of coaching is very, very low. It's very low. Because there's many reasons, but I think it's very low because there's not a lot of there's just really not a lot of good coaching. Like and you got to define what is good coaching. So I think a lot of people expect, especially at the young levels, like someone to be a really good coach and have systems and play to win, develop, and they put everything under one umbrella, which is virtually impossible. Or you better know what you're doing to get everything. So that's number one. I think the expectations are low because there's I don't think people really understand what coaching at youth hockey really is. So as you move up, you would hope that as you're getting older, that you're getting qualified people that have coached and really understand coaching and communicating and all that stuff. But it's simply just not the case. A lot of times you'll get coaches once you get to the U16 level that may sound like they'd be good coaches or they've been coaching for a long time, but like really, are they good coaches, right? And the other thing is, like, I wouldn't expect too much from a coach in minor hockey. And I'm not talking expect nothing. I'll get into it in a minute. But I would say don't expect them to be super coached, that you're going to learn a ton of hockey and systems and everything that you need to know about hockey and prepare you for the next level. In fact, most coaches won't develop you to the next level, and you'll really start to learn hockey at the junior level.
And once you get there,
most likely, not all the time, but most likely. So that's a quick thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to just draw attention to, because I'm obviously, like, with our organization now, like, trying to find coaches, it's hard to find coaches to the quality that we want. But the reason that it's hard is because if you want to find a really good coach, if you want to find somebody who's really good at anything, they probably have a lot of experience. They probably have been around the block in different situations, coaching at different levels and all that stuff. And they cost a lot of money.
Yeah. That's especially nowadays. Like the days of a volunteer coach are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Especially at AAA levels and other levels, like either pretty much gone or really hard to match.
Yeah. And you have, like, because it's just like not accepted to have a mediocre coach, which I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying this is just what it is. If you want to have a really good person do anything, that person's time comes at a cost, right? So if we want to get a really good coach, like they're not just going to come here with all their expertise for nothing. They're not just going to come and volunteer. They're not just going to come for no money. They're not going to sacrifice their weekends and their days and do extra video and individual meetings and learn all the systems and do all this stuff for no benefit to them. That's just not, no human being works in that way, right? So I think when you're thinking of it in that sense, it's like, what do you think these organizations are capable of? Because then everybody wants to complain, and maybe rightfully so, that hockey's super expensive. And it's like, well, yeah, like every better thing you add usually comes at more of a cost. It doesn't come at less of a cost. So if you want to have a really good coach and you want to have a really good program and you want to have a really good this and that and this and that, unless you can come like where we have a sponsor that can offset a lot of that and make it more accessible, it just is really expensive. So if you want to get a really good person in there, it's hard to do if you don't have some of those tools at your disposal. So then what we get back to the question of like, what is the reality? Like, what actually do you think will happen with whatever team you are, whatever program you're in, with the coaching that they have available to them, you know? And that's just a reality that parents have to juggle when they're deciding, like, you know, how harshly are we going to judge the coaching stuff, you know?
Yeah. And the bottom line is, like, and I would say this at any level, expectations, like, I think you should have some expectations. And I would say, like, if someone's going to coach a team, even as a volunteer, whether they're U8 or U16, if they're volunteering your time, volunteering your time doesn't mean, well, it's like, I'm not charging anything. So like,
no responsibility.
It doesn't remove you from any responsibility or a give a shit meter or some knowledge or implementing something. So that's number one, is it doesn't excuse you from that. But then it also, I think if you're going to do it, you need to do it. Like, you have to have a base
100%.
knowledge of
100%.
something. So then what could that be? Like, I think at the youngest levels, first of all, parents' expectations of coaches, like, don't expect much. And if you do expect much, like, why? Because at the younger levels, it's like you're not really learning anything. And I always use this with people all the time. You know, I do some stuff at my old company a little bit here and there, and you know, people ask questions, and I'm like, it's too much, man. You're asking too much for your kid. He's thinking about doing a task or a skill or whatever it is, and the more information you throw in his head while he's doing it, you mess it all up. So, like, at the younger levels, what you're looking for is, what's the environment like? Is it a good, fun environment? Not like goofy all the time, but is it a fun environment where they're enjoying hockey, where it's a nice place to be? It's you know, you're teaching them how fun, teaching them to compete. Like, it's okay to want to win, but it's not win at all costs or anything, because they're just kids. So I think it's important that you have a good environment and you teach them how to compete a little bit, but have fun with it. And if you have the ability, which a lot of people don't, and I've talked to, you know, coach that has been coaching for a long period of time, that have their HP1 hockey and which is one of the highest levels in Canada, and really don't know how to run. Say they know how to run practices and stuff, but they really not really, and they don't understand that for this age, for the skill level, like, what to do. Like, they need it in front of them, and they go, I know this drill, but they can't expand and stuff like that. And then the systems are the systems applicable to that age level. So you've got to be able to look at it. So a good coach will be able to say, oh, I've got a team here that's really, really skilled, right? At U10, really, really skilled team. Well, they don't work really hard. So I'm going to teach them how to be really skilled, but maybe I'm going to teach them how to battle too, and then show them the importance of that, and relate different things on why it matters. And hopefully some of it sticks. Are you going to yell and scream and lose your shit if they're not perfect? No. But I think it's more of the encouraging piece, right? Encouraging them to be better, teaching them little things on why. And that's the big thing, is why. Why are we doing things? And if you can teach as a coach why you're doing things, I think you get better results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7, like, common issues that I think puts, like, the parent against coach or can cause conflict between the parents and the coach. So I want to like just walk through those. Again, I'm talking about this from the parent side and like how they're viewing the coach, not like from the coaching side. Though you can relate it to that if you want to. So like common things, this is just things that people say when I read comments that we get, when I listen to parents talk, like these are just the common things. So the first one is when you have a parent coach and there's maybe like perceived favoritism. So it's like, coach makes his kid the captain. Coach's kid plays a whole bunch. Even if it's not a parent coach, it's like they keep putting Johnny out in all these situations when the kid's no good. But I know that they're friends or something, like all that kind of shit. So like, give me some thoughts on that, and one, just the reality of what is and isn't happening some of the time, and then two is just like handling it. So how to deal with like that particular situation.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm going parents' perspective of this. So if I see a parent coaching a team and their kid has a letter right away, like as a parent, I go, okay, guy's a goof. Like you just don't do that. Like you let someone else have it. You already have dad on the bench. So that's number one. I don't care what level it is. That's how I would think about it. What are you going to do? So then the other part is, what are you going to do? Okay, so these are all teachable moments to me. It's all about, if your kid says something like, yeah, the coach is the captain, or the coach's kid is the captain, like everyone's mad. So yeah, and it's kind of weird, but like there's your dialogue with your kid to kind of teach them something, right? But yeah, that's one thing. If they're playing favorites, here's the bottom line. To me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, or not, it's going to happen. It could happen. This is how life works, right? And I think a lot of the times, just as you say this, when you get in a group, you can sit there and you can bitch and moan and you can get upset or have that perception that, and then when you're looking for something, you're going to find it, right? So it becomes magnified in that situation. So if the coach's kid gets one extra shift by either by accident or on purpose, it's probably, when you're talking to the parents, it's like 10 extra shifts or 10 extra minutes. So it's like, take it with a grain of salt, but it's going to happen. So what the hell are you going to do? Right? That's the way I see it anyways. And then a lot of the times the coaches sometimes don't even know the difference. Where I would give some slack though, and I know this is probably not the most popular thing, is if you look at that level of hockey, whatever level that is, was there someone else that was stepping up? Right? If someone else wasn't stepping up, and this guy who says, well, I'll coach the team because whatever, and no one else challenges that and no one else is stepping up, maybe that's the benefit you get for coaching. You get to take care of your kid, right? So that's where I would say, that's what I would say with that. I don't know if I went off in
no. I think like the hard thing like for me is like it's so easy to criticize from the outside when you're not the one that has to make the choices, right? So like I find this a lot with like I like to think I'm as fair as I could possibly be most of the time, but there are certain kids that deserve more than other kids, in my opinion. There are kids that I think are better in certain situations than other kids, in my opinion. And you might disagree, right? Like you might see my decisions and say, I don't think that that's the right thing to do, and whatever. And that's fine. Like everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. But the level of criticism, I think, that gets thrown at the coaches when it's like, well, yeah, you didn't say you were going to coach, or you don't really know much about hockey, or okay, yeah, his kid is one of the captains, but maybe he is one of the best players, or maybe he is a leader, or whatever. I think there is some slack that you should give when, like, it's a hard job, man. It's a hard job, and like I know that, to your point, if you signed up to be the coach, then yeah, like there's responsibility there, and like I do think most coaches are trying to do the best that they can in that situation, because ultimately it is a reflection on them. Like when the team does well or does poorly, and you're the one that has to deal with all the parents that are going to complain at you and all this stuff. And this isn't a carve on the parents in any way. It's just to say like it's hard to appreciate when you're the one in the driver's seat, and like it happens to me every game. It happens to me every game when I'm behind the bench and I'm like, hey, okay, we're in this situation right now. I need to get this kid on the ice, right? Because like maybe he missed a shift, or he wasn't on special teams, or he just sat in the box for 2 minutes or whatever it is. Like that's going to come at the detriment to this kid, because you have to balance it. It doesn't help everybody all the time, right? And so how those things can be perceived is just it's very challenging. It's very challenging trying to balance all of that stuff. And of course you get like the situations where the coach is a complete goof and doesn't care about any of that at all and just of course that kind of stuff happens. But on average, like most of the coaches, I think in minor hockey, like they're trying to do a good job. Like most of them are not going to go on to be a junior coach or an NHL coach or whatever. And they're helping out because they either have kids that played or a kid on the team, or it's their buddy's dad, or they want to stay involved in the game a little bit and all this stuff. And I do think it's difficult to get past just the human nature part of it when you're behind the bench. Like there is a human nature that is going to play into how you make decisions, who you pick to go at which times and all that stuff. And to sit from the outside and think that you would do better or that you would make a more fair choice or whatever it is. I just think like it's if you've never been in that situation before, it's not a fair perspective to have for the coach, because when you're not the one that has to make the choice and you're not the one that has to hurt a kid's feelings, or you're not the one that has to, deal with the consequences of your choices, I think it's just really easy to throw the criticism at the coach in general. Does that make sense? Okay, I don't want to I'll ramble there. Anything else on that before I go to my next one?
So the thing is that if as a parent, because we're keeping it on the parents to the coach, is like there's a couple ways that you can approach this. I'm not saying this is what you need to do, but it's fair enough. If you're a sensitive person, or if you think you're getting pissy, I mean, try to have a conversation with the coach, but maybe at the beginning of the year, understand the philosophy of what they're having. So like what I said, when I coached Charlie for those 2 young years, the one thing that I couldn't stand about it when he was young is that he was the better player on the ice. But because I was coaching, people probably don't see this as much. When I was coaching, he'd jump on the ice, I'd be talking to someone on the whiteboard, or I'd be like, hey, you did a good job, or something little. And then my son would do something great and I missed it. So the side benefit is like the thing that people don't understand is that when you are coaching your kid, unless you're watching him and that's what you're there for, if you're actually coaching a little bit, you're actually don't get a chance to really watch your kid for what it's worth. So, sorry, from a parent's perspective, is you could ask coaches like, what's the philosophy on your coaching? It's not critical at 10, but I mean, what are you thinking on your coaching? Is it the development, or winning is the most important, right? Or what? Coach more or less could have that conversation with people so they understand, but a lot of coaches don't know that that's an important thing. So maybe that's the thing: are we development, or are we trying to win? And hopefully they say both, but it's that would be good. But if a coach says like, I'm here to win, you can't be mad at him if you stay. You can't be mad. He wants to win, and everyone says that's fine. Okay, good, because we want to win. But that comes at a cost too. You just hope that your kid is one of the ones that he wants to win with, not when the chips are down that your son's the one that's sitting, because that comes out. And when you're not good with it, then that's where the coaches are idiots and they're unfair and stuff. And if you don't want to be on a team that is 11 years old and the coach wants to kind of fairly or somewhat spread the wealth around or sprinkle the infield with equal ice time roughly, if that's not what you like, then you shouldn't stay and shouldn't complain. So you kind of have to pick your poison. And people always say one, and then when it doesn't go that way, they want the other. So the coaches never win, by the way. So I think it's actually important for parents to have some understanding of all the things that the coaches have to be aware of.
Yeah, no, we're kind of going all over, but I don't care, because I think it's good. You touched on a good point there too of just saying that, if you're coaching and you might not see the thing that just happened, whether it's your kid or whoever, that is like the most true thing ever. It's like sometimes I'll get, parents will talk to me and they'll be like, oh, like this thing happened or whatever. It's like, I didn't even see that. I didn't see it, good or bad, right? So they'll be like, oh, this kid just did this stupid thing, and it's like, I didn't see it. My kid just did this great thing. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. So unless I go back and watch the video, which we can do now, obviously we have Instat and we can see all the metrics and all that shit. It's like, you don't always have the full context of what actually happened in the game. And especially at younger, youth levels, they're not going back and watching Instat. They're not going back and watching the game multiple times. Again, it goes to the commitment. How much time does this guy have that's either volunteering or maybe making a couple bucks to do it or whatever? It's how much time does he have to really go study and understand what every player is doing all the time and who is really best suited to do what, and looking at, analytics and all this stuff. Like, that is a very professionalized version of coaching, and that's not the average at all. So like, we're fortunate we have some of these tools. We have the time. Like, my full-time job is being here, your full-time job is being here, and we can spend the time, right? And we can look at some of those things and have a deeper understanding of all the players and stuff like that. But a lot of places don't have that. So if you think, well, my kid did all these great things all the time and he just never seems to get rewarded for it, it's like, okay, over a long enough period of time, maybe the coach should know, but it's like, I don't see everything all the time.
But that's a whole other issue.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is, when a parent says, he does all these great things, or did you see this? Did you see this? And I can tell you, as a parent, I'm the most objective guy on the planet when it comes to watching my kid. And it's still not perfect, because when he's on the ice, I watch my kid. I do watch the game, and I'm like, but I got one eye on my kid pretty much all the time. When he does something remotely good, it's like, it's a fist pump to myself or whatever, right? Go, got a boy. And then when he has one tiny little mistake, I'm like, buddy, you got to get that out or whatever, right? But while I'm watching my kid with a magnifying glass, the coach is watching the whole game. So yeah, maybe that you're watching your kid and you see on a penalty kill that he maybe he lifted a stick, maybe a very, very subtle, got back enough for a guy to receiving a pass or getting a pass. He lifted the stick enough that no one would really see, and the puck goes through. But you're watching your kids so close, and you go, just save them from scoring. And the coach is kind of bad angle, whatever, doesn't see it, and he didn't get praise. It's like, coach isn't a jackass. You're watching, and it's like it all evens out, right? So that's the thing, is like, a lot of times when you really watch your own kid and you don't understand why the other side of that is that maybe this is a huge one, is you might see your son or daughter doing something which you perceive to be fantastic, but it could be totally opposite of what your coach is asking. So like I've said this on several podcasts, Charlie's second year, really getting good in the OHL. Like, he's starting to really establish himself. He's playing this game. You and I were watching it on the video at my shop, and he looked like he wasn't really the tenacious finishing his hits. And my wife texts, and she's like, I don't know, man. He's playing fine, but he's just doesn't seem aggressive. Like, I don't know, something off. And comes out after the game with the biggest smile. And my wife goes, like, kind of, what are you smiling about? And he goes, we shut down that top line. We did our job. He ended up getting a goal at the end of the game because we did our job. It was awesome. And coach said, don't run around, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So he didn't play the way mom or either us, his normal game. So we're sitting there going, yeah, maybe he's a little, like, maybe he's sore or something. No, the coach told him, don't hit or as much, don't chase it, sit back, do this, do that, and that's how we're gonna win this game. So there's a whole bunch in there, right? Mom and dad saw this, coach wanted that. So mom and dad look like they're weaned on a dill pickle, coach is happy. Maybe mom and dad aren't happy because he didn't get his points and didn't get all his strengths in a game, his hits and all that stuff weren't up high, but the coach is like, perfect game, we won, we got 2 more points. Kid comes out, he's happier than a pig in shit. Mom and dad are like going, why are you happy? Right? And all these things build up. And it's deeper than that. It's right. Like, there's so many different layers to this thing that maybe you just have to let the coach and the kids play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that kind of leads to my next one. So if you have a coach that's a bad communicator, so somebody that they either don't say much, they don't know how to say what they want to say, like they're just not super articulate, unclear what your job is supposed to be. Parents kind of kept in the dark on what's going on and what needs to happen and all of that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on the bad communicator piece of it and how to deal with it? I think, like, just to put my 2 cents, from the parent side, again, like the theme of all this stuff is going to be like, you can't control what the coach is doing, right? And it's just about how you deal with what the situation is. And I think for us, it is important, like, and I hope for the coaches listening, like, I do think this is something that coaches could do a lot better, is prioritizing the fact that people just want to know what's going on. And there's just again, it's a human nature thing, right? There's like a lot of human nature plays into a lot of these issues. It is like most people don't like confrontation and having to be honest about what's actually going on. Most people just don't like that, which unfortunately causes more problems. So for me, it's just something that I value personally a lot. I know you do too, where it's like, just say what's happening, just say what's going on, be direct about that doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. It doesn't mean you have to be a goof. It doesn't mean you have to try to hurt people's feelings on purpose or anything, but just be upfront with what you're thinking and what you're doing. And that helps squash a lot of the problems. But a lot of coaches don't do that. Either they don't have to do that because they don't have to do that. They don't feel obligated to do that. It's not a value that they have, or they're just not good at it. They're just not good at saying what they mean or saying what they want the kids to do or whatever. So from the parenting side, what's that look like now from if you're trying to deal with, I mean, you've had to deal with this, I'm sure, coming up through minor hockey with different coaches that Charlie had. It's like, how do you deal with, I don't know what the coach wants. I don't know what the coach is thinking. I don't know what he's telling my kid or not telling my kid. And then how to approach that with your kid when there's just bad communication in general.
Yeah. So are you talking communication of like, we have a tournament, be there at 8:00 in the morning?
Both, either. Just like, because there's like, there's a perceived, like, there's an organizational value to that, where it's just, you're just telling people what's going on in general. And then there's obviously the more detailed part of actual communication of feedback to the kid, right? So there's both those. You can take either.
So let's just say from an organizational standpoint, this would be, I'm trying to stick to the guns here and go totally what a parent's thinking. So if you get information late, like you have to buy I'm looking at your jacket, right? You have to buy your jacket. You got to have jackets for the tournament this weekend. It's like, well, why didn't you tell us that before? Like, that's not necessarily a coaching thing, but it's like, if that happens once or twice, then I think someone in the parent group should say, hey, coach, like, or manager or whatever, like, we need to get this stuff out. You need help with it. Like, you make suggestions, but someone's got to be available to get the information out. So that's number one. Is it the coach? Maybe, maybe not. You're a detailed guy. You would have that all dialed in and buttoned up, but there should be someone designated on the team to do that. So maybe volunteer and ask. Now, as far as the hockey goes, I'm very, very mixed emotions on it. And here's why: because parents try to control or get in the know of everything that is going on. And really, I know it sounds like I'm a jerk, but really, as a hockey player, what are most parents really going to be helpful for? Like, from the hockey side, like, they really don't need to know that much, right? Like, what type of player are you? It's like, all player, like, especially when you're young, work hard. All those different things are standard, and it'll kind of reveal itself. But if you get a coach that, like, be very thankful if you get a coach that gives you feedback. And even though you might not agree with it, or you do, or whatever, but coach says that you do this well, and this is the type of player I think you are, and this is where you're going to be successful, in my opinion, then you should be thankful that he gave you something, because it's something that your kid could work on. And whether either right or wrong, right? I had a coach, we were just talking about this the other day, we were laughing our ass off. Charlie was playing in Bantam, and he was just on the ice like all summer with Aaron Ackblad, Steve Ott, a whole bunch of NHL guys in my regular drills, and the coach told him that he was shooting wrong. Right? So Charlie's like, "What do you mean?" So the guy said, "Well, he never played, but he was shooting wrong." So Charlie just laughed, but he's, "Oh, okay, whatever." But the guy was harping on him all the time. And he told me, and I said, "So, like, what do you do?" He goes, "I don't know. I just kind of laugh." I said, "Just laugh. Just that situation." You say, "Oh, okay, coach, I'll try." They just humor him. You're right. He's wrong. Whatever. He's just trying to be either a power tripper, or he thinks he's right. So just let him be right. But a lot of times, like, a coach doesn't have to tell parents all their coaching strategies and what they're trying to do and all that kind of stuff. And as parents, I know this is the hardest thing in the world. Let it go. It's not that important that you know what the power play should look like, or why this line against this line, or who's doing what, or it's not that important. It's none of your business, actually. It's really not. You don't need to know everything, and let your kid navigate this game, because, like, the sooner that you let them learn. Like, I mean, I'm not saying don't ever ask questions or stuff. Like, I think parents get too involved, to be quite honest with you. So the communication of the hockey piece itself, unless you really know what you're talking about, or your kid is really struggling with something, there's no need to know anything, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. This kind of plays the next one you mentioned is kind of like the power tripping coach or someone. We could start with the power tripping one, but that kind of leads into like a coach that's not super balanced. So meaning they are just too much of one thing. If they're just like a hard ass yelling and screaming all the time versus, everything is about running a certain system versus there's no systems and it's just about free flow and play, or the super fair guy, or whatever extreme you want to go to. What would your advice be from the parent side if you're dealing with that kind of person where it's like the power? So just two thoughts, maybe that could trigger a little more for you. The one for me would be maybe, and obviously you have to be careful about this as a parent if you don't actually know, but you can provide a little bit of the balance. Like you can provide a little bit of the other side. If if the guy's just always yelling and screaming and whatever, and there's nothing you can really do about that because that's how he coaches. Maybe you can be the voice of reason on the other side.
No, but this is good. This is good because we're talking parents to coaches, parents to kids. No, this is good. See, it's like what Jocko says, right? When something's bad, it's actually good. Because I think as parents, the best thing that we can do when they're playing sports is just guide them. So if you say you've got a lunatic behind the bench yelling and screaming, it's a great opportunity to talk to your kid. It's a great opportunity to teach them that, okay, what's like number one, this is something that Charlie lives by, is when someone's speaking to you, a good communicator is really nice to have. It's awesome. Someone says, Eric, I would like you to cut your hair, comb it to the left, around the ears, no facial hair, I want your top buttoned up. And it goes through all the details, and anything outside of that, like exactly how you should be coming to work. Anything outside of that, you're in trouble. So right? It's great communication. In hockey, that might not be the way it goes, right? So you got a yeller and a screamer. As a parent, it's like you have that conversation. It sits with Charlie. Don't listen to the tone, even though the tone could be intimidating or dry or funny or goofy or whatever the tone is, unsure, very confident, whatever the tone is just the tone as I'm speaking right now. Whether I say this spitting while I'm saying it or I'm doing it very calm, the tone is just the tone. It's how I speak or how someone speaks. What is the message? And the message is the most important thing. So then if a parent teaches that to the kid, that is not just a hockey lesson. That's a lesson for the rest of your life. Right? So then the next phase of that is there any substance to his message? So this is where so it's not so much the coach is communicating to your kid and you properly. It's how are you communicating to your kid? Because that's probably the most important part of this whole thing. If he comes back and he's like, I'm scared of him because he yells all the time. Well, as a parent, you could say, well, I'm going to go talk to him and tell him not to yell. But what if he can't help himself? That's how he speaks. You meet people like that. They're energetic, bouncing off the walls. So, hey, coach, I would like to change you. Right? You can't be you anymore because my son feels, right? So it's a great opportunity for a parent to say, okay, what is the message? And maybe you can point out as a parent, like, okay, the message is he yells because he really wants us to be perfect. Okay. So like whether that's right or wrong. So it's like, okay, so you're teaching, okay, then try to be if you want ice time, because this is the way it operates here. If you want to have ice time, then you have to be as perfect as possible. He wants us to work hard. It's never good enough. It's like, okay, then your message is like, if you want the ice time and his approval, then you have to be nonstop work. It's not like he's a jerk, or maybe he is. If it's, I don't know what he's saying. He just yells. And if you get to the point like he's saying nothing, that's an opportunity to teach, see, son, there's a lot of people out there that yap and they're loud. And the louder they are and the more they talk, the less they say and the more they reveal they know nothing. It's a life lesson for your kid. So you can sit back and say, oh, this guy's just It's like the guy that walks into the bar with the tattoos and, dressed like he's a UFC heavyweight, and he's never gotten a fight, but he dressed like Halloween, right? They're dressed like, I'm a tough guy today. And they're the loudest ones there until someone confronts them. It's like, oh, right? So I think that is the biggest message. It's not so much the coach is wrong or needs to change or needs to communicate or whatever. It's getting involved in your kid's life and teaching them how to deal with whatever the situation, right? And because that's life. That's like legit life. And I'm just, in a perfect world, we would love a coach to communicate properly, set the schedule properly, have an organized practice, have an organized speaking, and everyone's like on the same page and just perfectly happy. It's just not the way it is. And guaranteed at some point in your hockey career, that will change. You're going to have an opposite of what you had.
Yeah. How important do you think it is then, kind of with that type of situation, if like your coach wants certain things, what if you just like don't agree? So like, let's say your views are kind of misaligned and you're just like, I don't think my kid should be doing that. Or the kid is like, I don't think I should be doing that. Now, just let me
disagree with
what they're telling you to do. Like, I want you to play this way. Yeah. Like, do this. I want you to do this. I'm going to take out, like, they're not asking you to do anything bad.
Okay, that's
right?
my point.
Yeah,
they're not asking you to run the goalie.
Yeah, no, they're not asking you to do anything.
Sometimes you do what you got to do.
They're not asking you to do anything like I don't know what would be like dangerous or morally wrong or like whatever. Yeah. We'll take all that out of it. Okay. It's a hockey thing. Yeah. They're saying play this way, and you're like, nope, I don't think that. I think you should play this way. So how do you deal with kind of the misaligned views if you're, for you, your kid versus your coach? Is it, hey, he's the coach, do what he says? Or are you trying to, still stick to what you think is right versus what they're asking you to do?
Well, like to me, and I can only speak to what I would do with what I did and what I would do with my kid, is like, your coach wants you to play this way. If you don't want to have ice, don't do what he says. If you would like to have ice and play, and then you need to do it the way they want to do it. So there's nothing wrong, though, to ask questions, because that enhances your communication skills. If you have a coach that actually will listen or pay attention to, they might say, you know what, that's a good point. So like, I'm going to use something extreme, but it does happen. Let's say let's say it's me that has been around hockey my whole life, and my son, and I've said, like, Charlie, the way you play hockey is you forecheck hard, you back check hard, you don't worry about scoring goals, right? You do all the little things. You be a hard worker, and everything comes from that. If the coach is saying, okay, I don't want you to ever forecheck, and I want you to kind of stay in the middle of the ice because you have a good shot. When you get it, you just get breakaways all day. That's something that I would probably address, or have my son address, and just say, like, Coach, I'm trying to be a good hockey player, and you're asking this. I know this is extreme, but I would address, okay, this is something that's not helping me be a hockey player. This is something that's totally against our principles. Like, if it was for one game because you wanted to beat a team, oh, okay, coach, that makes sense. But if it's like, this is how I want you to play, then you have an issue that you can talk, and then you have to make a decision on that, as opposed to what you want to be. And the bottom line is, just like, if I come into work you're my boss now, sort of. If I come into work, like, we start at 8:00 and I come here at 3 minutes to 8 and I'm in a rush and I'm not prepared, and you address it, I could either say, Eric, I'll come in when I want, or I toe the line. If I come in when I want, then maybe the next time it's going to be, you don't have a job anymore. So that's the decision that you're making, right? Even though it's not a job when you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that's the decision you make. So I think I think that's the key point there, is that when you do have things that you don't agree with, in a civilized way, in the nicest way, or asking questions way, or that type of conversation goes a long way. And just, because maybe there's a reason for something too. Yeah.
And I think the part of that for me is like, yeah, maybe you're right and what they're telling you to do is wrong, but also maybe it's good for you to learn how to do things a different way, And like I was just talking to one of our parents for the U18s for next year potentially, and he was kind of like, oh, like, what do you see with my kid? Like, what do you see where his games, whatever? And I was like, well, like, you guys have done a good job understanding what he's gonna be, right? Like you kind of know his role. Like you kind of know what, if he goes up to the higher level, what he would be doing. But that doesn't mean he can't explore playing a different way, you know? So like if, you know, in the example you gave, if you're saying Charlie's going to be a forechecker, a back checker, a details guy, do all the little things right, yada, yada. And coach says, okay, but Charlie, I want you to be the F3 because we can get you the puck so you can take shots. It's like, that doesn't mean forget how to play the other way, right? You can also just say, okay, like I'm going to try to do this because that's what my coach is asking me to do, but I need to make sure I remember how to do those other things because I do think that's what will make me successful. So it also doesn't just have to be one or the other. It can be, I'll keep in mind what I think I'm going to be, but I'm also going to try to do what my coach is asking because I want to get more ice and I want to get more opportunity and I want him to like me and think that I'm a guy he can go to and all that kind of shit, right? So it doesn't have to be one or the other.
You get a lot of times too, like you might have a coach that, and this actually happened in the OHL with Charlie, is the coach said, I don't want you to hit as much. So he's like, this is my game. I don't want you to hit as much. I want you to pick and choose, and gave him some reasons. And Charlie agreed with some, disagreed with some, with others. But he said, well, if I want to play, I better do something. It doesn't mean you can never hit. But it did, in some ways, teach him different parts of the game, right? But that doesn't mean that that's what you're always going to be. But on the other hand, you get a lot of coaches that'll say, I need you to hit more. Like, a lot of kids, and a lot of parents, and a lot of parents will say, well, he's not that, or a kid will say, I'm not really physical. Those, I want you to hit more. I want you to be physical. It's like, that's what you have to learn. It's not going to hurt you either. Like, it's going to help your game. So being a skilled guy that learns how to use his body and toughen up and stiffen up, maybe every now and then, oh, I actually hit someone. It's actually beneficial to your game. And as well as if you're a heavy hitter, and it's a big part of your game, but you learn that you don't have to do it all the time. You can save some energy and you can maybe approach things a different way, have better angles and all this stuff. It's okay, but you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. I was talking to one of our D on our U16s and had a really good talk about what he is as a player. And, because everyone likes to score goals, right? And get offense. And he was like concerned I'm not getting enough offense. I said, everyone's looking at you, dude. I said, you need to be really, really good at what you do. Shut down, be tough, be rough, be big, all the simple defensive thing. And he did. He dialed it right in. So he's doing, but he's still working on his offensive game. Sure, 100%. Doesn't mean that you can never score a goal. So, like, for sure you can expand that. But that's the great thing is that when you have roles and you, like, as parents, if you look at things and you say, okay, you're good at certain things, it doesn't mean that it's all you are, and then you can expand on those roles or those skills no matter what, right? And it just makes you a better player all around.
Yeah, I think I'm reminded of an example. I know I've said this in the past. I don't think I've said it anytime recently, but when I got traded in junior, and when I got to that team, I never had a conversation with my coach about where do I fit, right? That coach never, and like at the time, it didn't even really dawn on me that I probably should have had that conversation. I didn't know at the time, right? I didn't have good guidance like while I was playing. So I remember it was like into the back half of the season, and he told me that he thinks I should play like Scott Hartnell. And I had never heard that ever before. Scott Hartnell's like 6'3", and whatever. Like I wasn't that. But whether I agree or not, and whether I would have been receptive or not to that at the time, I don't even know. But just I have never heard that before. Like that would have been good to know that that's what you expect of me, or that's what you want me to be doing when I get here. I just never had that conversation. And so as a player, I think it's good if a coach is giving you any kind of feedback at all. If you want to take the good out of that, it's like, okay, I'm at least getting some direction, right? I'm getting some direction of like, for me to be successful with him as a coach, then these are the things that he wants me to know and wants me to learn. And I think that could be something that you take as a positive, where you start to develop other things if it's not what you thought you should be doing, right?
Yeah, and one strategy that I used a lot, I taught my kid this. I tell this to a lot of people. I tell people when I ran my business, this is actually where I used it the most. And my son heard me say this a lot. So you're going to know someone's knowledge of something and confidence in something by asking questions. And if someone gives you advice or tells you you should I want you to go like this. You don't have to say like why, not like that. It's like, oh, why is that, or what do you see in that? Like, take that question to the next level, so it's a deeper consequence. Like, so let's use this, Eric. You need to work on your skating, and then if you walk away and say, okay, you didn't gain anything. I just gave you a bunch of shit. Like, not a bunch of shit, but a bunch of nothing. Now, if you say, "Oh, okay, coach, what part of the skating are you looking at?" Oh, now if I have knowledge, I'm going to say, "I need you to get to your top end speed. It seems like you never get there." Okay, if you walk away from that, and I walk away from that, I still didn't give you. I gave you one little thing, but you still are probably walking away confused. How? Okay, coach, what do you suggest? Okay, now I have to come up with, I don't know. You just need to get your top end speed better. I'm dumb. I don't really know what I'm talking about. You have more of a brain. If I go 5, 6, 7 layers of, until it's ridiculous, not, you don't want to make this ridiculous, but if I say, you need to get your top end speed. Oh, how do I do that? Well, it's obvious to me that you're either gassing out or you just don't, you start off quick, but you don't have power. So what you need to do is have to develop power. Well, how do you develop power? Oh, how you develop power is you get in the weight room and you do this, this, and this. Oh, what kind of workout should it be? And I can continue to talk. I know what I'm talking about, or at least I appear to be. But if I don't have, if it ends at question 1 or 2, the depth of knowledge is small. So that's a test that parents and coaches, not asshole, right? Because I've said the opposite when I had my business. When's your next camp? I go, you don't need a camp. No one walks away from that. So they go, what do you mean I don't need a camp? You don't need a camp because you've done this, this, and this. To me, the best thing you do is rest. And most people go, okay, you're an idiot. But they didn't ask the question. Or if I do offer it, it's like, you need rest because this, this, and this. You need to change it, whatever, right? So it's like, ask questions. That's a very, very, very huge tool to, and it's warranted, because especially now in the game, there's so many frauds and so many people out there that, they buy a whistle, they put a YouTube channel or whatever it is that we've got one.
Yeah.
No, but they're frauds, and they have a skating camp, this, that, and the other thing. But if you ask questions, they'll have zero idea how to explain something. Yeah. So I think that's a great way to weed someone out.
Yeah, that's
so even
that's
from
hardcore.
Like, sorry, I'm going here.
No, go.
But even like from our perspective, right? Because when people are making a choice to come to the BioSteel Academy, or they're considering the BioSteel Academy, I always say, ask the questions, right? Well, no, we're going to develop your player. Oh, okay, great, we're coming. Well, no,
right?
How the hell are you going to do that?
Yeah.
And if I say, well, we do a lot of skill drills, like, is that the answer? No, we develop our player to create habits. That's going to be 5 years. Okay, what's the next question? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? And then you go, wow, that's a pretty impressive program. If I don't give you answers, you should really question how good the BioSteel Academy is.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way you should be doing, like, especially when you're looking for a place to play and you have mutual interest, right?
Yeah, 100%. So the
tangent or no?
No, that's all good shit. I think it's all helpful, because people just don't. A lot of them, you just don't know what you don't know, so it's hard to know what questions to ask and how to go about it. And it's always uncomfortable, like getting in confrontation, whether it's not being an asshole, but just having to go and say, "Hey, can you please explain this to me?" Like, that is hard. Like, that's a skill that can be challenging as a parent to a coach, a player to a coach, player to a parent to a player. Like, those things are hard when you have to engage to try to sort out something that doesn't feel like it's aligned. So it's good to have like tips on how to deal with that. What if you get into like paid coaches and like the politics of that kind of stuff? So like, we hear this all the time. Like, this guy was the coach and Buddy's dad greased him for however many dollars to get his kid to play on the power play and like all this kind of shit. So if you're in that kind of environment, you hear about that kind of stuff happening all the time, or the the families are paying so that this kid can come for free, or like whatever. What do you do with that kind of, if it's like politics stuff, or the coach is getting paid or greased or whatever, and you think there's some conspiracy theory of what's going on?
The thing is, I don't know how long of a sentence I can go on here. Not that long, in my opinion. I always believe this. I believe this from the bottom of my heart. People think there's politics in hockey or in things, and I guess the way some people look at it, I guess there is. So if you say like this kid made the team is getting ice because his parents are paying the coach, that could be true, and it happens a lot. It does. But I've never found a player that is one of the best players on the team consistently ever have politics played against him. Unless he's a jerk, like a goof, right? That you're just such a dislikable person. So my suggestion to that is don't make, like, to me, the politics is a huge excuse for you not getting what you want. That's my opinion. I would say that in my own life, when I was the best of the best, I never ever had politics against me, even though I had broke parents, had a shitty car, couldn't do any of that stuff. I was a nice, polite kid, but when I was young, I didn't say shit if I had a mouthful. But there was never politics against my hockey because I worked, I was good, right? When I got to junior, a 16-year-old underage hockey player, politics, there was no politics. I was 16, and Craig Duncanson was a first round NHL draft pick to the Los Angeles Kings. Craig's 19, I'm 16, he's better, I'm not. Anything I wanted to do, basically there was nothing I could do to take his spot. Is it politics because he was drafted? What's the politics now? The politics at junior hockey and pro hockey, especially, there is no politics. And then people say there's politics all over the place. Yeah, whatever. But I guarantee you, even if you're working your way up, if you go out and you lay 3 bodies out on the ice one shift, I promise you'll get another shift. I guarantee you. If you don't, you won't. Is it politics? If you go out and forecheck, backcheck, and do the habits that are extremely, like the qualities that make hockey players, right? If you do that consistently, show no or play without fear, go to the net, all the things. If you do that consistently, there's no politics. You'll get on the ice. So for me, there is no politics. Now, you could use politics as, the NHL level, or like maybe even the OHL level, like, this was a first rounder, he's got a longer leash. That's just the way it works. But the politics of it is you do your thing, it'll work. And it just might not be on your timeline though. But to me, I hate it. I hate it. Politics doesn't apply to the best players. It just doesn't. So if politics is applying to you or your kid, then, as I've always said, if your kid's not going to be one of the top guys on the team, why would you play on that AAA team? Why? Like, that's exactly what what I'm talking about. So like, yeah, someone that feels the need to give the coach X amount of dollars or the organization X amount of dollars so his kid can play, like, not the greatest lesson in life, I don't think, but whatever.
Yeah, I think the clarifying point for me is where I see it now, like, is the, like, politics, they exist on the, like, organizational level. Like, it's not like to affect the individual player. I think exactly what you're saying is right. Like, if you're one of the better players, then that is not something that is going to impact your experience playing the game, right? Maybe there's things going on between the organization and this, or a coach and that guy, or like whatever there is. Like, there's stuff aside from the playing the game part. When it comes to the playing the game part, it's like very infrequently is one of the better guys on a team not going to be able to play because of a political reason, right?
Every coach wants to win. If you have a chance to win, or if you actually, this is your job, like, this is our job. So of course we want to win. Fortunately for us, we don't have that crap. But like, if you're coaching the OHL, like, politics, my ass. This is my job. If I don't win, I don't have a job. So there's the coach has to play. There's certain things that have to happen, right? Yes, I get it. Like, I can't say there's zero ever, but if you're the best player, you're going to play. And as a coach, you're coaching to win because it's your job. So like, you say what you want. It is what it is. It's people's livelihood. Coaches make decisions on for their job, for their livelihood.
Yeah. So last one is what if you have a coach that's just like a bad person? So like the coaching staff is bad, or the organization is bad, or they do something extreme that's like inappropriate, or they're trying to like bury your kid, or they're just a bad example, a bad mentor, a bad whatever. So I guess the first thing is, if they're doing something that bad, call the police.
Yeah.
Start with that.
Yeah, right.
So
pretty much.
Take the next step down from call the police.
Yeah.
Now what do you do?
It was a parent's perspective. It's like I'm always of the mindset you teach your kid. You teach your kid, because there's bad people. There just is. There's people that have worked for me that stole from me. That happened in my life, right? That's the way life is. So it's the stuff bad meaning. Well, you said it. If they're doing something is so inappropriate or whatever, then you need to deal with it, like as a parent, right? So I see. I think what we can. I don't know, man. Like as our family's so thick-skinned or old school, it takes a lot. It would take a lot for me to be. That's not good. So, and you can draw your conclusions on what that would be. But so like this for me, the coach came in, because I've had this. I've had someone said he centered out my son. I've had this in the OHL. Parents said he was in the room and he centered out my son, and I went, yeah. What do you mean? Like he called, like my son got centered out. I'm like, well, yeah. He was talking to your son. So I don't mind if my son's an adult now. He's 20 anyways. But I don't mind if a coach goes extreme and calls him out and hurts his feelings, or like really gives it to him. I don't care. I never did care, because I knew for him, if he was going to be a hockey player, that was the way it's going to be. So maybe I'm not a good parent. But so for me, like the line is very, very far. Whereas other people, it's like a tiny little thing is we need to talk to the coach because you said something that hurt his feeling. You go, what? Right? So for me, it's a bad question. Obviously, whatever your standards are, your standards. And like you said, if it's police worthy, then you go to the police. If it's something you could deal with that crosses your line, then you have to address it. And if it's not, then there's boards and all that kind of stuff that you can go to, right? So for me, it's just that line is really far away. Not a good answer, I know.
No, it's not. It's just that's a real life answer. It's like everyone has a different line of what is acceptable and not acceptable, and what's bad versus not bad. And so,
because the thing is, like, it's no different than, you want to, like, as a parent, you're trying to raise kids that can get through life, right? And you said it.
You'd hope.
You did a great job yesterday, by the way. The younger group that we had here, they wanted something. They wanted some sort of ice and something because they just wanted something. And you said no. And they were kind of pushing back, but like it was the ice, right? Remember? You said no. And they were like trying to push it back on it. Like, well, why? And you basically told them, because you guys haven't earned basically diddly shit in the last couple of weeks. So you start doing a lot of things right and consistently right and have a different type of respect. The answer is no. So some people would say, well, they should. And you said to them, you don't just get what you want because you want it. You earn shit. And that's the way I would look at it as in hockey and jobs and anything that you do. So in everything that you do, there's going to be like hockey's extreme, right? Like, I don't know if people actually know that. Hockey's extreme. And if you have really, really soft skin, I know we want to create a perfect world all the time, but if you have soft skin, you won't last. You can't last, because if it's not the coach getting you, not that they're getting you, but if the coach, the GM, the draft, another player on another team, the dressing room, something's going to get you. You have to have thick skin. You have to understand that hockey is tough. And I know there's hockey culture. I don't even, whatever. It's culture. That's the culture it is. It's hard. So like even parents, like, They don't like it when the game gets too rough. Hockey is a rough sport. You don't make it to the pinnacle or have if you even consider getting to the OHL college or pro, going through as a being soft. Good luck. It's not happening. You are going to break something on your body at some point. Someone's going to, you're like, my face looks like it's been like this eye here looks like someone took a cheese grater to it, right? It's cut up into pieces. I had my eye hanging over my head several times. My nose, like that's because I played hockey. Anything other than that, you're probably not playing real hockey, right? And you know what? When the first time that I got stitched up in a scrap, the first time I had a nice cut here and a crooked nose because I fought a heavy weight when I shouldn't have. But anyways, I did what I had to do. The coach didn't go up to me and say, "How's your eye, Andy? You good to go?" Here's what's going to happen. We're going to take you to the back room and get you stitched up. We'll give you a needle so you don't feel it. The doctor's a really nice man. I'll give you here's a teddy bear to hold in case it hurts too much. And when you're done, if I would never suggest you come out and play again, but if you feel okay, come on out. We'll ease you back in. No, because I looked at my coach and just being honest, his nose went 17 directions, east, west, north, south. Right?
Yeah.
It looked like someone, he looked like he got in a fight with a chainsaw. And what am I going to say? My eye hurts? I didn't even think of it. So you go, you get the guy that did my stitches. The guy had cigarette stains all over his fingers, and he had so maybe that's why I know. But so then you got stitched up. You went out and played. You went on the bench, and the coach went, go. And then the game was over, and no one checks on you. This is hockey. It's a hard game. It's harsh, man. It's harsh, right? If you don't block a shot and don't do the hard thing, you will hear it. So when a coach is hard or there's a line that a lot of people in life don't go to, you know what I mean? So the compassion for me is you could teach your kids that stuff, but it's just the truth. It's just the freaking truth, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. So maybe the last thing, and then we'll kind of close it out, is if you need, maybe give some pointers or some recommendations on if you feel like you need to go talk to the coach for some reason as mom and dad, under what circumstances. I know you touched on a little bit of it, and then what's the approach to actually go and try to have a conversation. If it's about, you can take whatever example you want. My kid isn't playing enough. My kid doesn't like it right now. I don't agree with what you're doing. Someone on the team is being mean to him. Whatever it is, how do you approach that type of communication?
Okay, so first of all, my first approach is I won't do it. My son would do it first. That's always been number one. Not me, you. Don't care if you're 6 or 16 or whatever. That's not my job to go and learn how to communicate. No, it's my job is to teach him how to have that conversation. It's growing up fast and big and show have some balls and go have a conversation. And it always happened. My son always dealt with the first initial part, and if he needed help after that, then we would go in and talk. But he had to do the talking. It's just the way it was, and never changed, and we never had to do it any other way. So that's me. That's me. I think it served well for my kid. I think it serves well for most. And let me ask you this: as a coach, do you like it when the dad says, "How does he get better? How does he get more ice? I don't like the way you spoke to me," or any of those issues? Or do you appreciate it more when a kid that has 3 hair on his nuts comes up and says, with a squeaky voice, and says, can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah.
Or can I have a minute of your time?
Yeah.
Which one do you like?
Yeah, way more on the player for sure.
But it's not because you don't want to talk to the parents about, you'll talk to the parents at some point, but it means the kid actually cares and wants to learn, and that's the person that's going to get the message. Now, if there's a follow-up or something like that, the parent feels better if he was around to learn or whatever, that's fine. But I would always go kid first, go in and ask, have some nuts or some balls, go in there and talk, learn how to be an adult or have those skills and apply it. And then the only way I would maybe go in first is that if I saw something that was like inappropriate, we already talked about that. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, I was gonna go to like my last thing to close
Okay.
it down.
Okay.
Anything else? You're good.
Depends what you got. I want to make sure I say one.
Well, so I was gonna say, let's bring it to a close now. Just say more about, all of this stuff is we're talking about learning to deal with hard things and trying to parent your kid through the hard things. And so I'll just give a little closing monologue about those things, unless you have anything else that you want to say.
Well,
first.
what I wanted to say is like, I think number one is parents. You don't really know, and I don't really know. Listen, man, there's been times in the OHL, my son's been in the OHL, the draft, all these different things, where I really, you get upset because not upset, or you get frustrated for your kid. There are times, 100%. But what you have to also understand is that sometimes there's reasons things happen, or sometimes you just don't understand what you don't know what you don't know. Like I use this for example with the Brantford Bulldogs this year. Charlie gets traded there. They're number one team. 7 guys away at the World Juniors. Okay. First game you were at with me, the way they were playing, we both looked at each other. We went, what is going on? This is not the hockey I know at all. And it seemed like that for the first couple of weeks. And it was like, I don't know about this, man. And then when you step back, because you don't know what you don't know, I always said when if anyone would say something, I said, okay, hang on. They're number one for a reason. The coach has won a championship already a couple of times, played 1,000 games in the NHL. He's not an idiot. I'm sure he's got this under control. Like I'm positive of that. I'm actually positive of that. But there's something that's not making sense right now. But I'm positive of that. So then, as you look at it, if you just step back and you don't, you look at it from a different view, it's like, oh yeah, well, all these guys just came back from the World Juniors, banged up, all this kind of stuff, right? You don't even have your team, and if they're playing, they might not be functioning at that high end right now. So like once they all kind of settled in, you can start seeing the team go, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. So yeah, maybe this guy's not playing with this guy because that line doesn't make sense right now, but it doesn't make sense because it can't make sense because that person can't be at that top level right now. So we're putting a Band-Aid on everything now and trying to make it work till it can get back to normal. And then as you see everything fall into place, oh, that makes sense. As I said, the coach isn't an idiot. So my point to that is when you're watching the game, combination, who's out, here's another one. You look at someone's ice time, like as a parent, you don't know what the coach is thinking or what he's doing. So if you're a casual people, I have so many people say like, try to be on the ice more, eh? Or how come that guy got power play, this, that, the other thing? And I go, because what you don't understand is in the OHL, it's line matching, especially when the games count. So if you just go randomly put one line on, however, you just roll lines, you're going to get eaten up. So it's about line matching. This line, even though they might have 325 goal scorers, is going to play against this line and they're not going to get as many points now because their goal is to shut these guys down so that their 25 goal scoring line doesn't score and our other 3 lines have a chance in matchups, right? So it's like you don't understand that if you haven't been in the game, right? And all that kind of stuff. So when you're judging the coach, you got to have to remember that there might be 1 or 2 or many things that you don't understand what the decisions is. And then sometimes coaches are idiots. That's true too. But don't be so quick to judge and to cut up the coach and tell them how dumb they are and they don't know what they're doing when you don't know the information that goes behind that. Yeah. And sometimes they do things, is it bad that maybe your kid's having a really good year and he missed a shift or 2 or a power play because someone on the third line or whatever hasn't scored in a while and they just want to maybe get his confidence up? Is that a bad thing? It might hurt your feelings as a mom or dad or a player, but is it a bad thing for your team? I mean, that was actually a good thing, maybe, right? So there's a lot that goes into coaches' decisions. Parents, calm down, man. Yeah. Calm down.
Yeah. Maybe say one last little piece closing up about just the kids learning to deal with hard things and parents just trying to teach them or parent them through it when they're dealing with any of these situations with their coach in general. So maybe just close it out. Say more on that.
Hard things are good things. Because it's real. You honestly, whether it's like I said, Jocko says that, right? Good. If something bad is something bad, there's always a good side to it, right? And that's what I think people really have to look at. You could be out playing someone like watch several players probably deserve more ice, and other players get a leash where it's just they get the ice no matter what. Let's use that for an example. And the parents typically that get all the ice and whatever, they're happy. Of course they're happy. They'll find other reasons to complain, but they're happy. And the kid that maybe gets the kick in the ass from the coach or is demanded more or just has more to prove or has to prove everything every time he does something, like it's always the hard way. I'll take that kid. I'd rather be that kid. And I know as a dad, sometimes it's hard to watch your kid maybe miss out on what he deserves or get treated with a heavier hand because expectations or maybe the type of player or just it is what it is. Or you're not the coach's favorite player, but you keep grinding. But the point is that that's good because you find a way. Like if you make it through, it's good because it stiffens you up, it toughens you up. You become you get a little crust on you where things don't bother you as much. You just you just understand that I have to work for everything I get, and life's not fair. All those things, but the great thing is that at the end of the day, everyone gets that. So if you don't get it early, or if you don't get it at all, when it comes, you're shocked, and it's like you probably don't know how to react. So having hard things and I'm not saying bad things, but like things that are not the most optimal, and you have to fight through it. I think to me, it's what makes you, right. Like if you've never had to fight to get on a power play, you just get on it. It's like you don't know what it's like to work for something. It's like to me, it's the same thing as just you're born and you're a pretty good athlete, and then you happen to be born on January 1st, and you're kind of bigger than everybody, and you develop faster, and you go out and it's easy. It's easy. It's only easy for a period of time till it's not easy anymore. And when it's easy, you don't learn how to think differently, like right, because there's not situations where
there's no fight.
There's no fight in it. So at the end of the day, you just cruise through it until there's the challenge, and then when the challenge comes, you never had to. A lot of guys don't know whether to shit or wind their watch when they get in that situation, and they buckle or their hockey career goes downhill. Whereas the guy that had to fight, and scrap for everything they get, they're fighting every day. So that challenge never bothers them. The coach that expects more, it's like, yeah, I know. Okay. They don't take it the wrong way. So adversity, the other word for it, is good. And I believe that it's 100% necessary. And you can see that with hockey teams, right? And I don't believe this is actually true, but I understand the meaning of it. A lot of NHL teams and championship teams lose before they win. You've heard that, right? And they say you have to lose before you win. Well, I don't think you have to lose before you win. But the point is that understanding victory comes at a cost of being defeated and having the will to continue to fight and the desire to say, okay, we need to fix this, and that. Because once those things are all fixed, or you get to a certain point, now you become like virtually unstoppable. It was the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s. It's one of the, people talk about it all the time, or it's in books. I love this. So when the Edmonton Oilers went to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time against the Islanders, who won 4 straight, and they walked by that room and they thought they gave it their best, and they did, and they had the mindset like, man, like whatever, and they were going by that room where the Islanders were, or something along those lines. And they thought that they would see, beer and just one major party. As they walked by, it was ice pack after ice pack after stitches and that. And that's when they looked at each other and said, "Oh, we didn't pay the price. It's not going to be easy. If we're willing to play with a broken hand, broken foot, a knee that's hanging off shoulders and all that stuff, that's when we were going to win. And that was basically one of the turning points, is they realized that they had to pay a price. Without losing, they never got it. And then we were champions for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. All right, I'm going to shut her down there. We got 2 more left. Next one, we'll talk about some training and skill development stuff, and then we'll talk about some parent support communication to close it out. So well done today, Coach. Okay, see you next time.